Scrolling through Instagram, I came across this video. It's only 40 seconds long, but it seems to encapsulate something I see over and over again.
Dads and children prefer to play with each other. Now, I'm a mum, and I know if one of my children falls over, they rush to me. But I also know that compared to my husband, I'm a deeply boring human being.
Okay, so she's talking about the difference between mums and dads, men and women, in their parenting styles and the kind of preferred attachment that children sort of have. They come to mum for nurture, she seems to be saying, and they go to dad for fun, right? And this is interesting. Have you ever noticed that men and women are different in any way, shape, or form? Are we even allowed to name the difference? Well, she's going there. And what is she going to put it down to? Why are men and women, fathers and mothers, different on this one?
And therefore, my children prefer to play with my husband. And there is a reason for this.
Okay, there's a reason. There's a reason why children prefer roughhousing with dad and nurture with mum. What is the reason going to be?
Children and dads get a peak in oxytocin.
They get a peak in oxytocin. There's a neurochemical. That's the reason. This is what I see all the time. It can be incredibly reductionistic. As far as it goes, it might just be an extra level of observation. But remember, she said this is the reason. The reason kids love playing with their dads and dads like playing with their kids is because of a neurochemical called oxytocin.
From playing with each other. We can see it in the brain.
We can see it. We can see it in the brain. She has a lot more to say on parenting. This is 40 seconds clipped out. No doubt she will go into all sorts of interpersonal reasons. She will go into all sorts of family dynamics that are going on. She will talk, I'm sure, more broadly about the difference in the sexes and the difference in the generations. I'm sure she will talk more broadly about a social vision and a moral vision for parenting and life. And I'm sure she will. But when it's clipped out like this, I see this happening all the time. People are like, what is the reason for this social interaction? I know, it's a brain chemical. And we kind of nod at that and we say, oh, okay, so this is the clever, this is the deepest interpretation, this is the intelligent, this is the wise vision for life. If we do a brain scan, then we're really at the heart of things. And I just want to question that.
On the scanner screen.
We can see
They
it.
get a peak in oxytocin from being nurtured by their mums. So mums are really good at playing, we certainly are, but we don't get that neurochemical peak and neither does our kid.
Okay, so you can play with your kids, but maybe don't bother so much because you don't get the hit of this drug that dads are craving. And dads really get the drug, and so what? Like, where do we go from here? Having given a chemical explanation for the interaction of parents and children, what follows from this? And what follows from the use of the language of reason and cause, when actually what we're talking about is correlation? And of course, correlation does not equal causation. And what are we meant to infer about what it is that causes what? And what are we meant to infer by distinguishing between the neurochemical and the moral? Because there's one way of saying, I like to play with my kids. I delight in my children. I delight in the wildness of rough play. I delight in that. And then maybe something goes wrong and I might get angry at my children. And if I told you that story, I say, yesterday we were roughhousing with the children and then something happened and I got really angry with the children. And I went from delighting in my children to being angry with my children. As soon as I tell you that story, you're starting to think, oh, there's a moral dimension going on here. There's an interpersonal dimension going on here. There is something much grander than just chemicals. But if I tell you that same story and just say, yesterday I had a high in oxytocin followed by a rush in cortisol. At that point, I have eliminated everything moral from my account. I have eliminated everything actually interpersonal about what's going on. I just get the oxytocin rush followed by the cortisol rush. And isn't that a danger if we say, look, the reason why we behave with one another in these sorts of ways is because of a chemical reaction in the brain that gives the feels to the dads but doesn't so much give the feels to the mums. What kind of reason is this? What kind of causal explanation is this? And isn't it a bit silly to just kind of say, we have noticed because we've done brain scans that dads like playing with their children? I mean, how is that very different from saying, we observed fathers playing with their children and we saw the smiles on their face? We could see it happening live, and I was there with my clipboard and pen, and I made the observation. It's like, and really, like, the brain scan gives you a more granular level of observation, but is it very much different from saying what we already know? And therefore, isn't it just circular reason? Dads enjoy playing with their kids because they enjoy playing with their kids. Oh, but we see the oxytocin happen. Yeah, you kind of see the smiles on their face and the giggles and the laughter as well, right? We already knew that dads enjoy that. If you're going to look for a reason, why are you looking to chemicals, which expunges all the moral category out of your conversation? And if you took it too seriously, aren't you then in danger of saying, dads, here is the reason why you need to interact with your kids. You'll get a hit. You'll get a high. You'll get a peak in oxytocin. The drugs feel good, so play with your kids. Like, isn't that a really instrumental use of parenting?
So it has evolved that fathers and children gravitate towards each other to play with each other. It
just strikes me a really silly kind of thing, and I see it all the time, right? Like, I use the language too. You know, I often call Twitter as absolutely a cortisol delivery mechanism, and that's what it is. You know, like, strap it to your veins, you know, pump up the anger. But as I talk about that, I'm not talking about a cause. And if you go down the route of thinking that these neurochemicals are the explanation for our behavior, you are entering into a totalizing system that actually excludes morality, right? Why did you write that angry tweet? Oh, the cortisol. Well, no, I wrote that angry tweet because I'm a self-justifying, self-righteous fool, and this person pricked my pride, and so I lashed back, okay? There's a moral dimension that's going on, and if we just deal at the level of neurochemistry, we're not accounting for the interpersonal, we're not accounting for morality, we're in danger of just circular reasoning, and yay, do all the brain scans you can, understand all that's going on that you can, but the reasons why we behave in the ways that we behave go way beyond brain chemistry. Well, that's my brief thought about neurochemistry and its place in making explanations for interpersonal relationships. If you want to find out more from Speak Life, why don't you give us a like and a share and a subscribe? And why don't you do our new course, 321course.com. It's Life According to Jesus. You can binge it all in one go, or you can do it in 8 different sessions. We'd love to see you at 321course.com. Enter in your emails, start an account, and you can do the course now. But we'll see you on the next one if you hit subscribe. So hit subscribe.